Thanks for coming to 1500ESPN.com. We are at Xcel Energy Center. I'm Judd Zulgad. He's Jess Myers. Of course, covers the Wild. The Wild tonight. Jess wins 2-1 over Colorado in their first round playoff series. This was Game 4. The series is now tied. And after seeing Monday's game here in person and tonight's game, all I have to say is, who is this team? Because the Minnesota Wild has completely dominated, other than brief spurts, right? The past two games.
Absolutely.
The Wild hasn't just been good. They have been a force against Colorado.
Patrick Waugh said after Game 3, it wouldn't have mattered who was in goal because they had like 4 scoring chances in that game. I'm not sure they had quite that many tonight. I mean, they had 8 shots on goal with like 2 minutes left in the game, got a couple more. They tied their franchise low for shots on goal in a playoff game with 12, and only because the Wild took a penalty late in the game.
Yes.
Colorado had 4 power plays in the game. Now, this is what I'm writing about tonight, is that Colorado had one of the better power play units in the NHL in the regular season. The Wild were, I won't say horrendous, but they were not good on the penalty kill. They were 27th out of 30 teams. And in this playoff series, tonight being an example, Colorado 0 for 4 on the power play again tonight. They are 1 for 15 in this series. I asked a bunch of different Wild players, what are you doing that's working on the power play? I got a bunch, on the penalty kill.
Yep.
I got a bunch of different answers, but whatever they're doing, they're taking Colorado out of their element, which is to dominate the game with the man advantage.
So, Jess, in this game, the shots on goal, just to show you how ineffective Colorado was tonight, 3, 4, 5. That's right. First period, 3 shots. Second period, 4 shots. Third period, 5 shots. And late in the third period, the Avalanche had 1 shot on goal. As you said, the late game penalty gave Colorado, and by the way, it not only gave them most of their third period shots, it also gave them an opportunity. They pulled their goaltender, Varlamov, who once again was spectacular.
Yes.
He is the MVP of the series.
And tonight, I will say, even with fewer saves, he was better than he was in Game 3 because we saw fewer of those juicy rebounds that he was giving up so commonly in Game 2 and Game 3 of this series.
But basically a 6-on-4 for the Avs to end this game, and that was probably the most exciting part of the game because the Wild just played so well and dominated so much. Let's cut to the chase of this whole thing. The Colorado defense, as you said to me, was unremarkable with Tyson Barrie, who had, 13 goals, I think 39 points this season. Tyson Barrie is their offensive defenseman, but this is not a great blue line core. I said this on the show with Phil Mackey. When you think about it, Matt Cook is a loss for the Wild. He's out for 7 games for kneeing Tyson Barrie. But just the reality is, if I came to you 100 times and said, okay, here's the trade-off. Colorado's not going to have Tyson Barrie. You're not going to have Matt Cook. You would make that trade 100 out of 100 times. The difference might have been more than I even thought tonight. The Colorado defense could not move the hockey puck.
Yeah, I mean, not only could they not move the hockey puck, and, Eric Johnson, who we know very well, got a couple shots from the point that just couldn't get through. And the Wild are doing such a good job of plugging lanes. But beyond Eric Johnson, they've got nothing to create offense for them on defense. And there were a couple blue liners that were just disastrous for them tonight. I mean, this game started out, surprisingly enough, just like the last one. The shots were 7-0. The Wild got an early goal, got the crowd into it. And, they're just getting nothing on the back end right now.
To the Wild's credit, they came in here on Monday night. They're down 2-0. Now, a lot of the players said, Game 1, despite the heartbreak nature, Stastny ties it with 13.4 seconds left and then wins the game in overtime. You've got the 2 crucial turnovers, which were brutal. A lot of players said we gained confidence because in Game 1, they realized they should have won that game and they belonged on the same ice with Colorado. Nonetheless, they come back here Monday, and from the first period on, they control the game. And they win 1-0. And so you're saying to yourself, is there going to be a letdown? There wasn't. They played 6 periods of really, really good hockey, and you've seen the Wild on a consistent basis this season. I would guess you never saw them play a elongated spurt of hockey, 6 periods this well.
I have not seen this level of intensity for this long. Anybody can play 2 or 3 great shifts in a row and get the crowd going. They have played, how many shifts in a row over the course of 6 periods, and plus 5 minutes of overtime, where they've completely dominated Colorado. And that's what surprised me, is that there just hasn't been a lull. There haven't been those moments where you're kind of hanging on saying, should we ice the puck here? Should we clear the zone? Something to get a whistle. And when they have rarely had times like that, what I love about Darcy Kemper, and going back to him a little bit, he's just so calming and is not afraid to, hey, I'll just cover the puck and take a whistle. We'll just regroup here. And, I don't need to keep the play going all the time. He's such a calming influence back there for a rookie. It's just amazing.
His lone goal was a bad goal tonight, but I give him credit for this. when Brizgalov is playing, and Brizgalov late in the season played really well, but when he's playing, there's always this sort of frenetic pace around him. That goes away with Kemper. And in the playoffs, that's got to be so valuable when there's so much going on. The playoffs are so intense. To have a goaltender who just says, as you just said, hey, let's just calm things down. Let's just be normal. That's got to be huge.
Kemper knows too that he's kind of living the dream as a goalie. He talked tonight that, hey, they don't need me much. I'm not doing much back there. I'm trying to stay interested.
But he's doing what he needs to do.
He's doing what he needs to do. And the stat I love, Colorado scores on that kind of goofy shot by Ryan O'Reilly. 6:35 left in the second period when that puck goes in the net. They got one shot over the next 20 minutes of hockey. I mean, you talk about not capitalizing on any kind of momentum. It just wasn't there for Colorado tonight.
Charlie Coyle scores a goal tonight. In fact, it's the game-winning goal tonight. Exceptional, I thought. He is proving himself. This is why I like Charlie Coyle at wing. I think this kid, he could be a good center, but I think he can be an elite power forward.
Well, this is what I love about him, too. He is obviously, I think, learning from playing with Zach Parise and watching Zach Parise on a daily basis.
Sure.
Parise is so good at corralling a puck in the corner and just making a beeline to the side of the net or coming with the wraparound. Coyle's got a bigger body. He's a little more solid near the crease, and he's learning those kinds of plays, and we're seeing him make those kinds of plays. The game winner was kind of a goofy goal. Pominville takes a shot, it gets deflected, goes up, somebody gets a stick on it, he hits a stanchion and comes right to the side of the net, and Coyle happens to be right there. Not happens to be, it wasn't an accident that he was there, because that's where he likes to set up. You see what a body his size can do, as opposed to a body Mikhail Granlund's size, who's getting beat up constantly around the net. You just don't take as much abuse when you're the size of Charlie Coyle.
And Granlund's been fantastic.
Oh.
If Granlund continues to play this way and they get to the second round, I think the league is going to realize that the Wild's best player, not their hardest worker, Parise works very hard, but their best players, talent-wise, is Granlund.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal.
There was some talk going into the playoffs about teams having a Sochi hangover. Guys who were star players in Sochi. What will they have left in the tank in the playoffs? Mikhail Granlund, I don't think, without question, was the best player for Finland in winning the bronze medal in Sochi, and he has been probably the best player for the Wild. You look at what he did in that late penalty kill. Without a stick, he blocks 3 shots, and and essentially says, "This game's over. You don't get another sniff."
I tweeted that Don Cherry even would like Granlund, and Granlund's from Europe. Last thing for you. Okay, the Wild loses games 1 and 2. They played pretty well in game 1 and should have won. They come back and dominate at the X games 3 and 4. What do they need to do to take the momentum that they got here, which partially was helped by a loud home crowd? What do they need to do to take that momentum Saturday night into Colorado?
The first goal is going to be vitally important, and you saw what it did to them in game 1 to have that kind of confidence to not only get the first goal, they got the first goal in game 2 as well, but to hang on to that and build upon it, not to let the crowd get into the game, not to let them seep back in. It's a raucous crowd in Denver. I mean, it's a great sports town, you know that.
Yep.
They love the Avalanche. It's become a great hockey town since they moved there almost 20 years ago now. So taking the crowd out of it is going to be vitally important, and just getting that kind of calm play from Kemper again. Don't let him get rattled. Just slow the play down, get whistles in your own end if you have to, and don't let that momentum build.
Thank you very much, sir. He is Jess Myers. Read his work, 1500ESPN.com, covers the Wild for us. I'm Judd Zulgad. You can hear me with Phil Mackey at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on weekdays. Thanks for coming to 1500ESPN.com.